Hey folks, it's been a minute. My name's CJ Curry, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about today's Flex Friday promo over on PrizePicks, where you can risk up to $20, and it's a completely protected play, meaning if you do not cash out, they're going to refund that money to you the very next day as promo credit. So why not swing for the fences on some MLB picks today? Guys, I appreciate you joining me. If this is your first time here, think about hitting the subscribe button and the like button at some point during this video. I post these PrizePicks videos pretty regularly. I took a little break, went on a little hiatus, took a little vacation, needed a little bit of recharge time, but I'm back and I plan on putting out more PrizePicks videos for you each and every day, typically Monday through Friday. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely think about hitting the subscribe button. Now, we talked about Flex Friday. I want to show you guys what Flex Friday actually means and what it is in case you've never heard of it before. Of course, we're talking about PrizePicks, which is making daily fantasy sports easy for you to play. If you're not already playing on PrizePicks, use promo code Curry, make your first deposit, get a 100% instant deposit match all the way up to $100. I've left a link down in the description of today's video. But let's talk about Flex Friday. It's a protected play. You get your first entry made on Flex Friday back up to $20 if it does not hit. So basically, like I said, you risk 20 bucks if you go 0 for 6 on a 6-pick flex, if you go 0 for 3 on a 3-pick flex, whatever you decide to play, that $20 is going to be refunded to you the very next day if it loses. So it's one of these situations where me personally, I like to go for a 6-pick flex entry. 6 picks pay out 25 times your money over on PrizePicks. So we could turn $20 all the way into $500 if we go 6 for 6 today. And of course, that is my objective. That is my goal. So let's take advantage of today's Flex Friday promotion. I got some picks loaded up here. We're going to go all hitters today, and there's a couple of ways that I like to play hitter props over on PrizePicks. For one, it's typically going under on hitters. In other words, I'm betting against them. I want them to do poorly. I'm praying to the baseball gods for their downfall. And in this case, that's what we'll be doing on 5 out of 6 of these plays. There is one guy at the very end of this video that we'll talk about where we're going to go a little bit different direction. We're going to actually hope that he does well today. All right, but let's go ahead and get into these. We got Brandon Dixon of the San Diego Padres. His line is set at 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now I'm going to use a couple of different tools here to make some decisions. I'll show you what those tools are in just a moment. Starting with the first one, the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. Guys, if you're not using this tool, it's an absolute game changer, especially if you're playing on PrizePicks. This tool right here will help you get in on the picks with the most value before the lines go up, go down, or completely get pulled off the PrizePicks board. So if you're not using the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, check it out. Again, a link will be left for you down in the description below. If you decide to use that link to sign up for the DGF Optimizer, you'll save $5 on your first month. It's definitely well worth a spin. So let's start with the first guy here. We're talking about Dixon. Punch his name in here, give it a moment. It will find this hits, runs, and RBI line for Brandon Dixon of the San Diego Padres. His line is set at 1.5. The optimal way to play here. Now, this is based on the sportsbook odds. This is giving us a true percentage of chance of this guy hitting this prop for us. He's 52.2% likely to go under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. So it's a plus EV play. That's a positive expected value, okay? So that's what we're looking for, plus EV plays. And in this case, Dixon under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs does look like a plus EV play. Now, we're not going to stop there. I like to use some projection models to help take things a little bit further, to add another layer to the process. You could just use the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer here and probably be okay most of the time. But in this case, I like to add some projections. And one of my favorite projection models or tools in this case is the BAT by Derek Carty. The BAT by Derek Carty, one of the most accurate MLB projection models out there. You can find it on Roto Grinders. You can also find it on EV Analytics. 2 different sites host it, but in this case, we're here on Roto Grinders. So we're going to type in Dixon's name. Brandon Dixon going up against Christopher Sanchez. Dixon is projected to be batting 8th in the lineup today. If we go over to the hits, runs, and RBIs category, you can see these projected for just 0.62 hits, just 0.36 RBIs, and just 0.36 runs. So I'm going to bust out the calculator real quick to help us out with a little bit of math. So we're going to take the hits first and foremost, 0.62. We're going to add that to the 0.36 RBIs he's projected for, and add that 0.36 runs projection in there as well. And we end up with a 1.34 hits, runs, and RBI projection for Brandon Dixon. So far, I'm looking good here. Now, the next projection that I'm going to use is coming to us from RotoWire. So we're going to go ahead and just punch in Dixon's name. Brandon Dixon, hits, runs, and RBIs. You can see his projection is 1.47 on a line of 1.5. So we've got two different projection models, two different sources, citing that Brandon Dixon will go under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. So I think that's going to be my first play. Like I said, I'm praying for these hitters to struggle tonight coming out of the All-Star break. So that's the first pick. Second pick is going to be Miguel Rojas of the Los Angeles Dodgers going up against the New York Mets today. Again, his line is 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. So we're going to go back to the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, see if we can find Mr. Rojas here. And when we punch in his name, you see that his line does pop up at 1.5. It is suggested that we play him under 1.5. Giving us about a 52% chance based on the odds pulled from some of these sports books that he is going to go under today. So now that we know that, we could go ahead and move on to our projections. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did for Dixon. In this case, it's going to be for Mr. Miguel Rojas going up against Justin Verlander. Rojas is projected to be 9th in the lineup, meaning he should see fewer at-bats, which means fewer opportunities for him to accrue hits, runs, and RBIs. And who knows? Maybe late in the game, he ends up getting pinch hit for, which would be less at-bats for Miguel Rojas in this case. So let's go ahead, get our calculator out. We'll clear the previous entry. Let's go ahead and type this in here. 0.81 hits plus 0.28 RBIs plus 0.32 runs brings us to a grand total of 1.41 hits, runs, and RBIs, which is less than his line of 1.5. So I'm feeling pretty good so far about Miguel Rojas. Now, again, let's go back over to RotoWire. We're going to just type in Rojas's name here, and up pops his projection, 1.38 projected hits, runs, and RBIs. Again, putting him under that 1.5 HRR projection. All right, so I think you kind of get the drift here. We're going to go under on Miguel Rojas as well. Let's move on to our next pick, which is Henry Davis. We've also got his buddy Jared Triolo. Pittsburgh Pirates, two of them, both hitter strikeout projections here. Let's see which way we're going to be going. Let's go back to the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. We'll start with Mr. Davis here. You can punch in his first name, his last name, whatever way you want to punch it in. You can find it here on the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. We've got Henry Davis batting strikeouts. Over is the suggested way to go on the 0.5 line. You can see we've got about a 52% chance that he comes through clutch for us based on the odds pulled from the sports book. We strip out the VIG. We get the true odds here, which is minus 125 chance of him going over. Now that doesn't sound great, right? Minus 125, not a whole lot of juice on this particular pick, but where it gets nice and spicy, where it gets juicy for us is when we start considering some of the projections. So let's head over to the bat, which again, will help provide us a very accurate projection here from Mr. Henry Davis. So we go down here, he's going up against Ross Chicken Stripling, okay? And 0.89 projected strikeouts. That's closer to 1 than none. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far for Henry Davis. Let's go ahead and get you a second projection here. We'll head over to RotoWire for this one. Henry Davis, strikeouts, 1.11 projected Ks, which is making me feel a little bit more confident. You can see two projection models, they'll have him well over 0.5. Let's go for a third projection. In this case, we're going to go over to NumberFire. NumberFire is completely free, guys, if you're looking for some projection tools for fantasy score, single stat player props. NumberFire's got you covered, okay? So we're looking for Henry Davis of the Pittsburgh Pirates. We go over here, we find his projected Ks in this last column, second to last column, 1.06. So that's three different projection models that all have Henry Davis striking out at least one time today against Ross Stripling. So again, we're praying that these hitters don't have good games. Okay, I know. A lot of you guys like to take the overs or like to root players on when you have them in your entries here on Prize Picks. We're kind of doing the opposite. We're rooting against them. hopefully it works out for us. Now, I mentioned we got his buddy here, his teammate, Jared Triolo. Triolo, I could not find on the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, so we'll just skip over that. We'll head right to the projections, starting with the first one, which is presented to us by the Bat. Again, he's going up against Ross Stripling. You can see that his strikeout projection is 0.87, really close to that 1 number, a lot closer to 1 than none, so I'm liking the projection so far. We'll head back over here to RotoWire. It's just rinse and repeat. RotoWire did not have him here, so I had to go over here to actually find him. This is still RotoWire, just a different look. 1.4 strikeouts is his projection today, according to RotoWire. And then we'll wrap things up here by going back to NumberFire and typing in Triolo's name there as well. 1.2 projected strikeouts. So they like Triolo and Davis to strike out at least once today against Ross Stripling and that San Francisco Giants bullpen. So we're going to take the over here on Jared Triolo, okay? Which brings us to our last two. We've got 2 more hitter strikeouts picks. Guys, if you're liking what I'm doing in this video, how I break it down, how I show you all the data, all the details, think about subscribing. I'm going to be doing more of these videos. Like I said, I'm getting back into the swing of things, had to take some time off, but I'm back at it. So think about subscribing if you haven't yet, and I appreciate all the likes. Let's try to get at least, I don't know, 50 likes on today's video. That sounds doable. All right, Orlando Arcia of the Atlanta Braves. He's going up against the Chicago White Sox. Michael Kopech is going to be the starting pitcher for Chicago. He's at 0.5 hitter strikeouts. So let's head back over to the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, and we'll type in Arcia's name. When we do that, you can see that the most plus EV play for Orlando Arcia tonight is going to be his strikeouts at 0.5. It's suggested that we take the over here, giving us about a 52% chance that this pick will hit for us. So now that we know that it is a plus EV play, let's go check out some projections here for Orlando Arcia. So we're going to go over to the Bat. Now, when you type in Arcia, you're going to get a lot of guys with the last name Garcia. We're not looking for Garcia. In this case, Orlando Arcia is 0.75 is his projection for his strikeout. So that's the first one. Let's go check out another one here for Orlando Arcia. We're going to go over to RotoWire. They got him at 0.87. Again, closer to 1 than none. I'm liking the projection so far, feeling pretty good about it. And then we'll look at a third and final projection. Not looking for Adolis Garcia, not looking for Mikael Garcia, not Luis Garcia. We're looking for Orlando Arcia, and he's at 0.89 projected strikeouts here on NumberFire. So I'm just showing you guys kind of the process, some of the things that I look for and look at when I'm trying to decide on whether I should go for more or less on some of these prize picks projections. And in this case, I think I've got enough information here to say that Orlando Arcia will be a more play for me. Hopefully the projections and the way that the juice is flowed on this prop on the over or more come to fruition and that we actually hit this pick. Now, our last pick, I told you this one's going to be a little bit funky. We're going to switch it up on you a little bit. Steven Kwan, not a guy who really strikes out all that much. Now, tonight he does have kind of a tough matchup against John Gray. John Gray's been having a pretty good season, pitching pretty well. I believe he was in the All-Star game. So I'm not going to say that it's going to be a walk in the park for Steven Kwan, but in this case, we are going to be taking Steven Kwan for the under on his strikeouts. Let me show you a little bit of information behind this pick, starting with this first one here. Now, this is saying that there's about a 51% chance that Steven Kwan goes over 0.5 strikeouts, but I got some projections that seem to disagree with the way that the juice is flowing on this pick. And I've also got some historical data that we'll look at thanks to our friends over at props.cash. So let's dig into some projections first and foremost. Steven Kwan leading off usually at that number 1 spot for the Cleveland Guardians. Again, he's going up against John Gray today. The first projection has him at 0.54 Ks. Now, that's 0.5 is his line. 0.54 is the projection here. That's not enough to scare me away. 0.54 projection on a 0.5 line. I feel fine with that, knowing especially that Steven Kwan's not a guy who's striking out a whole lot. So let's go to a projection here on RotoWire. We've got him at 0.45 projected strikeouts on a line of 0.5, so that's less than 0.5, obviously. Let's go to a third projection here for Steven Kwan. We're heading over to NumberFire for this one. And when we go over to NumberFire, second to last column here, 0.47 Ks on a line of 0.5. So pretty much right around 0.4 to 0.5 projected strikeouts. Again, if this number was sitting at 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1.0 projected strikeouts, I'd feel a little bit concerned. But in this case, I'm not too worried about what I'm seeing here for Steven Kwan. Now, to take things a little bit further, this is props.cash. Guys, if you use code Curry and sign up for props.cash, you're going to save yourself some money on your first month. I've again left a link down in the description below if you're not using props.cash and you want to get access to all these wonderful graphs and bar charts and all this stuff. You got it all right here. All the data, all the information that you could possibly want to look for MLB, NBA, NFL, WNBA, CSGO. They got a little bit of everything, okay? Check out props.cash. But in this case, we're taking a look at Steven Kwan. Now, I just want to see what his strikeout numbers are looking like. So at home, Steven Kwan striking out 0.6. That's his average strikeouts when he's playing at home. But tonight he's going to be on the road, and that number comes down to just 0.4. When we dial this down to 0.5, you can see that he's only struck out in 17 out of 43 games on the road this season. That's just a 40% hit rate, which is good news because we're taking the under. Remember, we're not taking the over on Kwan. We're betting that he goes under, has less than a single strikeout. So let's go ahead, take things just a little bit further here. We're going to look at Steven Kwan versus Jon Gray going back to 2017. Now you can see that he's got 5 plate appearances against Jon Gray in his career. Kwan, young man, hasn't been around very long, but 5 plate appearances. He has a 0% strikeout rate versus Jon Gray, which means he's never struck out against Jon Gray in the 5 times that he has faced him. Now, we could take this another step further here by looking at the season numbers for Steven Kwan. 402 plate appearances. He's got a strikeout rate of just 11.9%. It's second lowest in the projected starting lineup for the Cleveland Guardians today, which means Steven Kwan's really not striking out all that much. Like I said before, we've got the numbers to back up what I was talking about. Now, against right-handed pitchers, things get even sweeter here for Steven Kwan. Kwan, 301 plate appearances against right-handed pitchers, just a 10.6% strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers. So the projections are looking good for Kwan. We've got some good historical information. Kwan versus Jon Gray. We got Kwan versus other right-handed pitchers. We've got Kwan when he's on the road, and things are just looking really good here for Steven Kwan to stay under 1 strikeout. So we're going to go back to Prize Picks. We're going to click less on Steven Kwan, and that will be our last pick of today's video. Of course, I'm going to risk the full $20 since it is a protected play. You risk 20, you could win up to 500 smackaroos if this goes 6 for 6. Now, maybe you have already used your free flex play. Maybe you've already used your protected play. In that case, take the picks that you like from these 6. Make a 2-pick power play if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. Make a couple of 2-pick power plays. Shoot, you can make up to 3 or mix them up, remix them however you want, and you can make multiple 2-pick power plays. But in this case, I'm going to risk the 20, and hopefully we go 6 for 6 and make $500. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Again, this was a very thorough breakdown of the 6 picks that I'm going for today on Flex Friday. Happy Flex Friday to you all. Hit the subscribe button and the like button on your way out, and we'll see you in the very next video. Good luck today. Peace.